Hello, and welcome to You're All About Musicals. I'm Esme,
I'm Nell.
and today we are going to be talking about Heathers.
That's a lie. I don't want Heather's fans to not like me.
Nell just said before I started recording, I don't like Heathers.
I said I don't like Heather's because Esme likes it. So
Uh,
I hate it.
yeah, that's the way this works, guys.
I could leave halfway through this episode and no one would realize because you would
What?
just keep
No,
talking.
I'm actually I'm gonna need your input on some of these points.
Okay.
I've been having some critical thoughts about Heathers since I saw it the most recent time. So, Heathers, the musical, has music, lyrics, and books by Lawrence O'Keefe and Kevin Murphy. It is based on the 1989 film by Daniel Waters. It was also directed by Andy Fickman. It started in 2009 when it had a workshop starring Kristen Bell as Veronica.
I do remember that.
At first I was really shocked because it was one of those things that I knew and then I forgot about.
Yeah.
And then
I feel the same.
And then I rediscovered it. I was like, that's shocking. And then I thought about it and I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense actually.
I feel like her voice doesn't. To be honest, I haven't heard her voice in much more than like Disney. But I don't know.
I don't
feel
know.
like her voice. I feel like we've had this exact conversation that I don't think her voice fits it.
In 2010, there was a reading at Joe's Pub, which is in the basement of the Public Theatre. Why I didn't treat it more like a national monument when I walked past it by accident that one time, I don't know. Starring Annalie Ashford and Jeremy Jordan playing Veronica and JD.
Oh my god, Jeremy Jordan.
And producers state that Heathers is a classic high school thriller with love, murder, power, and politics, and even a little hope in the depths of an inferno Dante couldn't even imagine 11th grade. Like, calm down. This is literally Heathers. 2013, it was announced to have an LA run for a couple of weekends. It was a tiny 99-seat theatre, and the run was sold out, which is kind of insane. Kristen Lloyd from Dear Evan Hansen was Heather Duke because 2013.
That makes sense to me. That does make sense to me.
Heather's casting that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it went to New York and it opened on the same day of the 25th anniversary of the film's release, which is good marketing. Like, that's really smart,
good
guys.
marketing.
Well done. Appreciate that. It opened at stage 1 of New World Stages, which I found out, like, you know when they say New World Stages?
Yeah.
It's like an arts complex. There's like tons of different theatres.
Oh.
And the theatre, like the stage that they were in, do you want to know how big it was?
How big?
499 seats.
Damn.
One more seat, and it's a Broadway theatre.
Jesus.
So I was always under the impression that it ran on like a tiny off-Broadway theatre and was kind of a flop there. The reviews it got were not the best. Yeah. People said that Andy Fickman's production was not the best. And the show is delivered with, Entertainment Tonight said, the show is delivered with an air of smugness, as though the audience is supposed to adore it simply because it exists. It's especially ramped up whenever the movie's zesty lines, especially the timeless F Me Gently with a Chainsaw, gets delivered. Always with a broad, can you believe that they're doing this smirk that undercuts the scene.
I feel like that still holds up today. Like, I don't think, this is going to sound mean, and I don't mean it in a mean way, but I don't think there's anything in Heathers that makes it extraordinary. Like, I think a lot of the performers are good, and so you have, like, Carrie Hope Fletcher, I Say No, in the West End production. I know we're not talking about that right now, but, like, the vocals in that are incredible, and you have the same thing in a lot of the Broadway production songs and the Off-Broadway production songs. You keep calling it Broadway, and it's not.
It basically is. That's what I discovered, and I was completely shocked. I was like, what?
But I don't want to say like the American version.
It basically is the American version at this point because it is the only one that has been performed over there.
Yeah. The original version, is that a better way to phrase it?
Yeah.
I think either way, in the original version, like a lot of the vocals are really good, a lot of the performers are really good. It's fun. But there's nothing about it that makes it really stand out as being like, wow, this is an incredible musical. This is so good. And I think a lot of it comes from the fact that the movie is so good with like Winona Ryder. Like she's
Yeah,
incredible. She does
we'll-
it perfectly.
we will get to the impact of the movie because this is the first adaptation we've
Yeah.
covered.
And I
We
feel like it's that like it's very self-aware that it is a
adaptation.
musical of a movie. Yeah.
And I mean, especially when it first came out, it was kind of one of the first.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't as common for it, and especially because Heathers is a cult film. It's always been a cult film,
Yeah.
and so turning it into a
'Cause you
cult.
had-
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you had Legally Blonde before it, just before it, really.
Yeah. I mean, Legally Blonde came out in what 2008, 2007. Heathers started workshopping
Yeah.
2009. So.
Yeah. So I think it's like the success of Legally Blonde.
I mean, it's similar creative teams.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it is a good musical. I just don't think it's as amazing as a lot of people make it seem.
Oh yeah, we'll get to the thoughts. There'll be a thoughts section where we can share our
Yeah.
deep thoughts about Heathers.
Our team. For all the thinking I do about Heathers.
I used to do a lot of thinking about Heathers. Now I do none. They highlight Entertainment Tonight review highlights Barrett Wilbert Wee's performance by saying it is an admirable performance. She is basically the only cast member not doing an impression, but she cannot overcome the show's core villain, the production itself. The Guardian gave it 2 stars. They did not like this.
Ooh.
The score manages a couple of stirring numbers, a chiefly yearning ballad 17, and if Freeze Your Brain does not become as cabaret standard, a peanut? How the fuck do you say that? This review has decided to be really pretentious and say it
Hold on, I can look it up.
It's not that important. Do you want to know now?
I want to know.
Okay. To a slushy certainly has novelty value. Most of the songs blur together, and Thickman's limited range pushes them either jolly camp, cringingly condescending like My Gay Son, or faux edginess with Dead Girl Walking. Better songs and different directorial approach might have improved the material, pushing it towards something cohesive, more singular. As Veronica remarks, it's whatever. Man loves
And in fact, talking of the song about the slushy, you could call Heathers 7-Eleven's worst PR stunt.
Everyone give Nell a round of applause.
Roll credits, we're done. We're done.
Are you going to try and work?
I'm going to bed. I've done my job.
Well, you still got to read
my
the
job, I'm going to
synopsis.
bed.
Yeah, overall, just did not get the best reviews. The Hollywood Reporter said this is a goofy show dependent on the inbuilt affection of the movie, then on finessed exertion. It blunts the fangs of inspiration. It salutes to the late 80s pop cultural touchstone with the affection it deserves. Synopsis time. Do you want to read the synopsis?
Yes.
Go.
Westerberg High is terrorized by a shoulder-padded, scrunchy-wearing junta, Heather, and Heather, the hottest and cruelest girls in all of Ohio. It's set in Ohio?
Yeah!
I never knew that.
What? They say it like 10 times. Sherwood, Ohio. It's like
I really don't care that much about Heathers to know where it's set.
See, I cared too much many years ago.
But misfit Veronica Sawyer rejects their evil regime for a new boyfriend, the dark, sexy stranger JD. He plans to put the Heathers in their place, 6 feet under.
Wow.
Kind of dumbs it down a bit.
And they
sure.
really do give away one of the biggest plot twists. Like, this show is about murder.
Yeah.
So, our thoughts on the musical. I think it's a good adaptation. I really do like the 80s film.
Yeah. I think it's fun.
It's fun.
Again, I just don't think it's not like
it's camp. Is it the second coming of Christ like these girly pops on TikTok will have you believe? No.
I think it's a thing like the performances are good. I think undoubtedly in every production the performances have been good or really good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the costuming, although fun, and like spoilers, a quick change from Veronica Duke into the red Heather costume. Incredible.
Every time I'm like, amazing. So,
oh my god, how do they do it?
we will never know.
But then it's like the costume in general, the set in general, the songs, the script, all of it. There's nothing stand out. Like there's no one particular moment.
Yeah.
And then even with Heathers, I had seen the film before I saw the musical.
Yeah.
Because it was Heathers, the film, and my dad like loved it, so I watched it. And it was okay. It relied very heavily on the love of the film.
Yeah, and I love the film, and I also like a bit of a pop rock score. So for me, as like a 13-year-old, it was like, yeah, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Do I
Yeah.
feel that way now? No. But the thing
I mean,
is
it's still good now. Like, if a song came on, I'd probably listen to it. I
it's
could
good.
probably sing along to it and enjoy it. But
It's and also like when you're physically seeing it, the vibes are good.
yeah, it's I think it having such a dedicated fan base, especially right now, the production on not on the West End,
Off West End.
in London, fucking Other Palace.
We will talk about Other Palace later.
We'll talk about them.
We will get to it.
But the production there has a really dedicated fan base. Like, people go back and see it.
Don't look at me. I've only
And
seen it 5 times.
I've only seen it 5
I've only seen
times.
it
I've seen it once.
I saw you saw
Was
like
enough.
the original like Other Palace.
Yeah, I
Like,
saw the original.
like I am actually done with seeing Heathers now. They're gonna have to completely overhaul it
Yeah.
before I see it again. That's the thing.
If someone offered you a free ticket,
But that's
would you
against my
take it?
that's against
Be
my
real.
morals. At this point, it's against my morals to say no to a free ticket.
That's true. I think what I'm trying to say is that production has such a that production, whatever, has such a clear and dedicated fan base that whenever you go and see it, it's really hyped because everyone loves it so much and they're really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like, even when I saw it right at the beginning, someone had right in front of us a little like gay flag that they got out during My Dead Gay Son.
That's really sweet.
I was like, no, it's not. I have very deep thoughts on My Dead Gay Son.
Do you want to share
But
them?
I will in a
Okay, go
second.
ahead. Okay.
It makes it fun. It's like when we saw Newsies. It was
I
such a dedicated audience. Loved it so much. It was you had to like it.
Yeah.
But My Dead Gay Son, it's like we were talking about how the musical tries to take itself, like that review before was talking about how the musical tries to take itself too seriously when
Yeah.
it's very clearly just a kind of fun adaptation of the movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like they do that for most of it, and then Dead Gay Son comes along, and suddenly it's no, this is just an adaptation of the movie, and it's just for fun.
Yeah, because
Like, you know,
in the movies, both funerals. I'm so annoyed that the musical didn't do more with Heather Duke's funeral. Anyway, that
yeah.
not Heather Chandler's.
I was gonna say, I was like,
Wrong
Duke
Heather.
dies?
Sorry, Duke doesn't die. She almost does, but everyone almost does it in Heather's.
Yeah.
Although, like, since not after becoming not an angsty teenager who really gets Heather's, whenever I see it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, the songs that I really like now, as like a more formed person who isn't as emotionally invested. Yeah, as someone who's not as emotionally invested in Heather's, I now walk away from it going, My Dead Gay Son is fun. So is Shine a Light. And you know what song I also really enjoy?
What?
Kindergarten Boyfriend.
Kindergarten Boyfriend is so good. It's such a good song.
It gets so lost in discussions, and so I don't think about it much. And then whenever I see it, I'm like, how do I forget about this?
It's so good. I was gonna say something more about the Dead Gay Son.
Okay, go ahead.
And it kind of ties into what you were saying about Heather Chandler's death and funeral. Is that once Heather Chandler dies, the first of the murders
Yeah.
is when the musical stops being serious.
Yes, yeah.
Like, The Me Inside of Me is a funny song
It's so
more
good.
than it's a great song. It's not like
She's
like
literally
the tone of
she's a ghost in a robe running around the stage going, I feel like John Lennon, because everyone thinks that she was like this misunderstood woman when she was just a bitch.
yeah.
Like
But
comedy.
it's like the tone of the movie after Heather Chandler's murder is very different to the tone in the musical.
Yes. Yeah.
And so then you get The Me Inside of Me, Shine a Light, Dead Gay Son. All of those songs about the deaths are really not serious. And then it's the moments when it's just back to being about a typical high school that it takes itself really serious. Like 17 is a great song and it's really serious about the topic. Lifeboat is a great song and it's really serious about the topic. And even though Lifeboat is probably the closest to the rest of the plot, it's still like regular teenagers feel suicidal.
Like they go from Lifeboat, which is quite deep song, into having that scene of like, if everybody jumped off a cliff, would you? And she's got all the pills in her mouth, and then she like spits them all out and goes, yes.
Yeah.
Like it's this really weird juxtaposition.
Yeah. There's like Dead Girl Walking, really serious, a fun song again, but pretty serious about would you call it a secondary plot about just being a teenager in high school?
Yeah. this added theme
Because-
that was never in the movie.
Yeah. And then like Blue/You're Welcome.
Oh, we'll get into the
Again.
controversy around that.
Yeah. The only song that is about specifically the murders that takes itself seriously is Our Love Is God.
But I think Our Love Is God is actually a great act to closer.
It is really good.
And every time, like, I always forget that Veronica's stood on that stage with JD and he's like holding her tightly as she's singing just Our Love Is God despondently. And I was like, oh, that's sick.
It is. I think Our Love Is God is a really, really good song. And I think it's always staged really well.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's really good. But it's so, because it implies that they're taking all of the murders seriously.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is such a fucked up thing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have it, because you have it in between, like not really in between because there's an interval, but you have like Me Inside of Me, Blue/You're Welcome.
And then you have
My Dead Gay Son.
No, but then you also in the most recent productions you have Never Shut Up Again, which is again kind of a fun song. Never Shut Up Again is campy.
Yeah. But it's also, again, it's that thing where it is a serious, would you call it, song? Like, I feel like serious is the wrong word to use, but it's the only one I can think of to describe it.
It's more plot heavy.
Yeah, it
not
fits
about the
the tone
murders.
of the plot it's talking about.
Yes, yeah, but I mean, the song literally ends with someone waving a flag.
Yeah. It's like the idea of like, theoretically, if you remove the fact that the reason it's happening is because someone was murdered,
Yeah.
the idea of someone who was always told to shut up
Mm.
suddenly becoming queen of the school,
Yeah.
the tone of Never Shut Up Again fits that perfectly.
Yeah.
But then if I said, oh, this is a song about the most popular girl in school getting murdered and faking a suicide and everyone reading the suicide note, The Me Inside of Me does not fit that tone.
And that's when the movie thrives and the musical kind of doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, because I think it's hard to explain because none of the songs are bad. Like even Blue, and I know we said we get into the controversy around it, which I think we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
I think Blue is still a good song. Like it's a fun song to listen to.
Blue is well written.
It's well written, it's funny. All of them, I think genuinely, 17 Reprise is one of the most classic finales and it does it really well.
It does it like
I think it's really good.
My issue is that when we get to after Shine Light, we like the jokes stop completely, and we just have Lifeboat, Yo Girl,
Yeah.
Oh god,
Kindergarten
Boyfriend.
I'm looking at the track list. Meant to Be Yours, Dead Girl Walking Reprise.
Yeah, and the movie never loses the balance where the musical kind of does.
Like, there's this weird bit which is at the peak of, how would you call it?
Oh my god, do you want to go? Keep going.
I'm trying to think of the word for it. Like
The peak of the action?
unusualness.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Absurdity?
think which is all of the murders.
Yeah.
Which happens just before the end of Act 1 and just into the start of Act 2, basically. Is that kind of period. Is when it loses all seriousness and it just becomes like a comedy.
Yeah.
But then suddenly the murders stop, but then it takes itself really seriously again.
But it can't take itself too seriously because at the start of Dead Girl Walking Reprise, which is an amazing song,
It's so good.
Veronica gets handed a croquet mallet by the ghosts that have been haunting her of the people that she's murdered. And she'll tell you what they're wearing. Two of them are in their underwear, just basically nothing. And Veronica's in her robe. Not Veronica, Heather's in her robe. So again, it's like, what's happening here? Is she gonna go save the school with the help from her
after
ghost
that? Because
friends?
they correct me if I'm wrong.
I will.
Because I haven't seen this in a while. After that, the ghosts kind of disappear.
Yeah, and they're never revisited
until
again.
the finale.
They don't even appear in the finale.
Like they do because they come on and bow.
They come on and bow, but after she kills JD, when she's going to kill JD, the ghosts are no more. Yeah.
So I think the rest of Dead Girl Walking it's so good because it does because I think the musical does have two plot lines running simultaneously.
Yeah.
Which is the murders and being a teenager in high school.
Yeah.
And Dead Girl Walking Reprise is the two of them coming together because you have the pep rally going on and her going to kill JD. Well, does she even want to kill him or just confront him?
Kill JD. JD's got a Norwegian in the boiler room. And he's going to blow up the school and make it seem like it was a communal suicide because society didn't understand. So she's going to stop that from
Yeah.
happening. And she's willing to sacrifice
is-
herself
I need
for
to
it.
check the date of something. When is Heather's set?
1989.
know?
It
Okay,
starts
yeah.
on September 1st. September 1st, 1989.
1989.
I think
I
it
do
does
know that then.
I think it does the 80s pretty well. Like it sets you
Yeah.
up
And I
pretty well
think
for that.
it does quite well the idea of, because I'm very interested in this, the Jonestown Massacre. The whole bit at the end is clearly referencing the Jonestown Massacre.
Yeah.
And it does
No,
that quite well. But there might even be a Kool-Aid joke. I don't recall.
There is
but might be.
there probably is. But I mean what's also really interesting is when you
Isn't
go
it right before 17 finale, she says something like, "Don't drink the Kool-Aid."
No, she says something about
I
Jiffy
might be
Pop.
misremembering.
No, she says, "Do you want to rent a movie?"
There's
Get
something.
Pop?
Yeah, there's something about Kool-Aid somewhere.
My date for the
It's a
pet
joke.
planet.
It's the thing is, if it took itself as comedy the entire time,
Yeah.
it could be a lot better. And I think you could
feel
still
like
keep the serious
the
things.
only pieces of seriousness should be Kindergarten Boyfriend and maybe Lifeboat.
Yeah.
Thinking about it now.
Because I think the thing is, like, again, these two plot lines kind of do quite well because you have beautiful cat. Like, okay, by the way, right now I'm going off the 2014 recording.
I will butt in when there's normal one. Like a
Changes, yeah. But it's just because I have that open.
No, that makes sense.
You have Beautiful and Candy Store very much set up
They do the comedy
high
quite
school
well.
storyline.
And
Yeah,
they do
the comedy, the high school storyline that, wow, it's insane how bad high school is and how
Beautiful,
fucked up these
literally,
Heathers are.
There's a line in Beautiful where it's like, I want to kidnap Heather and chain her up in my basement and feed her to the abandoned rats. Like,
Yeah, like it's clearly taken as a joke and it does that kind of absurdity of high school really well.
yeah.
And then you have Fight for Me, which is the first introduction of the
JD is
what you would call the second storyline.
JD is a
The murder storyline.
because in the
Yeah,
movie
the JD
he
is a
like
murder
shoots a
storyline.
gun, and so it's like a Chekhov's gun almost of he's got a
Yeah.
gun. What's gonna happen? But in the
Yeah,
musical,
yeah.
he just kind of like fights them. But again, you still have that humor because they're all going holy shit, holy shit, holy shit throughout the whole of the song.
Yeah.
Moving in slow motion.
And then Freeze Your Brain again starts to develop the murder, JD is a murderer storyline.
I love that.
Yeah. And then Big Fun is back to the funny high school plotline.
Yeah.
Dead Girl Walking shows the line, but it's pretty much high school.
Okay. So
Me Inside of Me then goes completely insane where it's doing the murder storyline, but it's just funny.
I have a point to make about Dead Girl Walking. Veronica's meant to be smashed. Like, it is set up that Veronica's meant to be so drunk. But
Yeah.
why did it take me going to see it 4 times for that to fully click? Anyway, that's just a little note.
I feel like because it's such a vocally challenging song,
Yeah.
I think because it's a vocally challenging song, you can't sing it as if you're smashed. Because you can, like, Big Fun, a lot of the lines in Big Fun, you can sing as if you're smashed.
Yeah.
Because I hate saying smashed, that's so American.
Smashed.
But Dead Girl Walk smashed. But then Dead Girl Walking, you kind of have to do it seriously because it's such a hard song to do.
Yeah, but it's not written to be done seriously.
Yeah, and then Me Inside of Me completely stops taking itself seriously. And it's like, yeah, we're gonna kill this girl.
We're gonna kill.
And
Like,
it's
there's a whole joke
Yeah,
about like her. Oh my god, she's reading the bell jar. It's actually a pretty good
Yeah.
joke. But I mean, it's also shocking.
Like,
to
I
the
think that's the thing.
audience.
It does its comedy. The comedy in that song is really good. It's a funny song. Like every single actor I've seen do it. And again, I've only seen this once, and I would never watch a bootleg. So
We're gonna talk about the bootleg.
but yeah, I've never seen it. Obviously,
Never seen it. No, not worried.
I've never seen it. Everyone plays it really well.
Yeah.
Then it like even the whole with the school when they're like over dramatically crying, they play it really well. But it's such a weird thing from taking the other like it's almost like seems intentional. The one storyline that shouldn't be that serious is taken really seriously. And then the one that is serious isn't taken seriously.
No, because
and I think that's something you could talk about. But then there's this weird, like, sometimes one is taken seriously and the other isn't, and then sometimes both are, and sometimes neither are. And it's just not consistent enough to seem.
Movie, like, it's a very real threat that they will be taken to prison. Whereas in the musical, you're like, oh well,
Yeah.
Veronica literally admits to killing them in Shine a Light. And everyone's like, haha, Veronica,
Yeah.
you didn't kill them.
It's like, I know you can feel guilty for not helping people, but yeah.
Fun old time.
Like, I think a lot of the things that are good about it, like the whole thing about them faking the murders as suicides and then
Mhm.
real people struggling with the idea of suicide
Yeah.
is a really good thing.
Yeah.
But that's set up by the movie, not the musical.
Yes. Yeah. That was an original concept that the movie did. I love the movie. I might actually watch it
The
soon.
movie's so good. But I think the thing is, a lot of the things that, because when we're talking about, we're saying this bit is really good. Like, aside from the music and the performances being good, the like plot line of the musical, the bits we say, this is really good, are the things set up by the movie.
Yeah, and I would say that my one with the movie with the score is, why is it so fucking hard to sing?
Oh my God.
What reason do we have to be giving these poor women vocal issues for years because of this? There's a reason why they have to keep changing the cast. It's because it's not meant to be performed for a long time.
Yeah. I think as well, it's the kind of thing of it's feeding into this idea of you go to see it because you like the movie,
Yeah.
and then it's just an impressive performance.
Yeah.
It's not taking anything in the movie and like talking about it more or adapting it.
Yeah.
It's just, here's the plot of the movie. We've really strained some people's vocals to give you a great song.
I mean, the person who,
Very much.
just off the top of my head, like Carrie Hope Fletcher probably played it for the longest consecutively. And she very famously like got a very bad case of tonsillitis. Like halfway through the run, I was like dying on stage.
Because it's this thing that I remember seeing this very briefly, so I might be wrong on it.
Yeah.
The current production in the other palace
Mm-hmm.
keeps bringing back old performers.
Well, I literally showed you a tweet about it the other day.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
No, because they just. But that's a different. That's like two issues of the score's really, really hard and no one can proper. Like, why don't they have an alternate Veronica?
Exactly.
She never leaves the stage.
Because she's gonna. It's a hard song. She's gonna go.
She's singing.
Yeah.
All the time, really high, belting.
She's singing the whole time. It's hard songs to sing.
Yeah, and they don't have any off. They're one offstage swing, which is ridiculous. For how much money I'm willing to bet that they're making, they need to hire more than one offstage swing. That's for next time we discuss.
No part of it seems like it's meant to be a long-term production.
No. I'm like, why is this still here? Literally, I was like, last time I went, I was like, this is my last time seeing it here. I can't do this again. It needs to leave the other palace. Anyway,
like even the set looks temporary.
It's a good set. I would say that the current one is better than the Off-Broadway set. I enjoy it more. I think it needs to leave the other palace, and for many reasons that we won't get into in this episode.
Yeah, it's not a show that should be on stage for years. Like, I hate to say it, Phantom is a good enough show to be on stage for years because it's not got an over the top plot. It kind of does, but it's like it's I don't even know how to explain it. It's not got it's got a big set that you can go back and see because it's impressive.
Yeah.
It's got music that is impressive. It's got performers that are impressive.
It's not got high enough production value to last for as long as it.
That's the phrasing I'm looking for.
As it has.
Yeah. Even it's earning money. Heathers is earning so much money.
I don't
know where it's going.
I don't know. Like, bring it to the West End. Also, we'll get to what the other palace is meant to be in a bit, because it's not meant to host Heathers for 10 years. Because
we were literally saying, like, there are shows like Bake Off the Musical, which we think is really good, but it should not have gone on to the West End as soon as it did. It should have gone to the other palace for like a year max. And it should have been workshopped there, and then it could have gone to the West End. But the other palace's space is occupied by Heathers. Permanently. There's no end in sight. There's an upstairs studio which can be used for like developing shows.
That's like 100 seats. It is literally 100 seats. But like Amelie at the other palace, perfect sense. It then went to the West End.
Actually.
Into a small theatre for 3 months, and then it went on the UK tour, and then that was that. We were all happy.
Because this is the problem. they're doing like either because the thing about the other palace is it's really close to the West End. So it's this kind of idea if you do like an off West End thing, like somewhere kind of just outside Central, or
It's
like on
like,
the outskirts of Central,
for reference,
and
the
then
other.
you'd go into the other palace,
Mhm.
and then you'd go onto the West End.
Yeah, no, for reference, for those who don't exactly know where the other palace is it's right next to the two theatres where Wicked and Hamilton are playing. So it's right next to these two huge cultural monoliths.
It's also like next to Buckingham Palace, which is why it's called the other palace, we think.
Well, there's a quote about what it used to be named, but we'll have some more other palace chat later. But for the moment, we're gonna go back to Broadway, back to 20 Off-Broadway, back to 2014. It had a kind of small run. It lasted like over 100 performances in like a large theatre for Off-Broadway, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think this is the thing, is that it always does well when it does performances.
Yeah.
So people keep it places because it's like it is bringing in money for the other palace in ways that their usual genre of shows wouldn't, because the shows are meant to be experimental, like
There's a
trying to
reason
get
for
onto
that.
Broadway.
There is a there is a reason for that. And put a pin in it because you're gonna have a lot to say when we get to it. I know for a fact.
Oh,
It got a cast recording during its off-Broadway run on June 17th, 2014. It closed on the 4th of August, having last 17 previews and 145 performances, which is a long time for a show that did not get good reviews and was off-Broadway. Like, off-Broadway shows do not last long. That's just a general facts.
And also, you said about the recording.
Yes. Yeah.
For a while, there was a recording that was only 4 songs.
We'll get to it. We're gonna get to it. Don't worry.
But I do remember listening to that a lot.
I was explaining to one of my friends who's a couple of years younger when we were at Heather's. I was like, yeah, so back in the day, and she was like, what? How did anyone like this show? And I was like, we're all insane. That's how, babes.
Back in the day, we had 4 songs and a 240p bootleg. You just dealt with it.
You just went on your you just watched the movie.
Just wait until we start talking about Bonnie and Clyde.
Just wait until we start talking about Be More Chill. Okay, so life off Broadway. In the beginning parts of it kind of becoming this internet thing, the rehearsal video with them, in the blazers.
Yeah.
It was one of the most watched videos that Playbill put out, like ever. At this current time, it has 1.6 million views. I checked the other day. It's like not as high as it used to be, but it's still really
look where
high.
It falls on.
In 2014,
I'm intrigued by
it
this
was
kind of stuff.
the fourth best performing video. It's since gone up a lot. It was placed in the top albums of 2014, again by Playbill. It first entered the Billboard year-end cast list for recordings in 2017 when it entered the charts at number 4. I think that's because of the 4 songs, and if you wanted to listen to the full thing, you had to buy the album.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people who did. I just listened to it on YouTube, like God told me to. Because that's the thing, it was also on YouTube. It just wasn't on any streaming services.
I also want to say it's at number 5 on Playbill's most popular videos, and Playbill's number 1 is only double the views, and it's Jonathan Groff singing Anything Goes.
Of course it is.
And do you want to hear the other ones above it?
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's Jonathan Groff channels his inner Sutton Foster to perform Anything Goes.
Jonathan Groff loves Sutton Foster. It's a known fact.
Hamilton, a chorus line celebration.
That was cool.
Bloopers from, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, bloopers from a Medea Christmas with Tyler Perry.
Okay.
First look, Anastasia on Broadway, which I kind of get.
Ooh.
Anastasia's good.
Anastasia's
a musical preview of Heather's the musical.
But all of those have been
and then
in the years after its off-Broadway run. That's what's so interesting.
Yeah. So it's like the Jonathan Groff was 11 years ago.
Yeah.
It has 3 million views. The Hamilton was 7 years ago, 2.4 million.
Yeah.
The Medea Christmas was 11 years ago with 2.2 million.
Yeah.
Anastasia was 6 years ago with 1.8 million, and Heather's was 9 years ago with 1.6 million.
Wow.
So it's not a big difference.
That's impressive, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, it basically has only been on the Billboard cast recordings year-end charts for 2 years, whereas at number 4 in 2017 because everyone had to buy it, and then it moved down to number 6 in 2018. I think that's 2018 is when they put it on streaming, right?
recording.
Yeah.
I think because it's listed as 2014.
No, this is just
But
my memory
that's
now.
not true.
This is I could find no thing of this, but I woke up one day, I went on Instagram, and the Heathers cast recording was out. Like, it was just on streaming, and they put out a thing being like, enjoy. This was during the West End run. It was a big day for like 13-year-old me that day, actually.
Yeah.
We're about to talk about two things you love.
I
Andrew Lloyd Webber and the Great British Bake Off musical.
like Andrew Lloyd Webber in the Great British Bake Off musical.
So, in 2017.
Wait, before you continue, I want to cut you off because I wanted to tell you this earlier and I forgot.
Okay.
I was in my front room today and a man walked past my window and he looked exactly like Andrew Lloyd Webber. And I was like almost convinced it was him.
Did you always run out of your book on mask?
I really thought about it. I like look. See, do you know how? I don't know if you know how Andrew Lloyd Webber like stands and walks.
No, I'd like
But
to
he
keep
was
it that way.
doing that. I was like, I was like,
So in 2017, there were going to be 5 presentations in the studio at the Other Palace with Charlotte Wakefield, Gemma in the Great British Bake Off musical as Veronica, and Jamie Moscato as JD. During this works, actually, we're going to talk about a third thing that you also love, Bonnie and Clyde. They did Bonnie and Clyde like as the series. This was given to us by Andrew Lloyd Webber. He bought the Other Palace in 2015. So he said, this is Andy's vision for the Other Palace. I want the Other Palace to become the London space where writers and producers can try out and perfect new work, offering audiences the opportunity to see musicals in development.
Exactly.
I agree with Andrew Lloyd Webber. God help us all.
It's so insane that now it's just not that at all.
I don't know what else to say about it, but the day I figured out that Andrew Lloyd Webber produced Heathers was the day my life got a lot darker.
I remember the text I got about it.
It was
But that's the thing. The Other Palace isn't on Lloyd Webber Theatres.
No, he sold it. That's why Heathers is still there.
Yeah.
We'll get to him selling it.
But I don't think it ever was on Lloyd Webber Theatres.
I think I don't know. We weren't really paying as much attention to him back then. Anything else I have to say on this? I don't know. I think it's funny that Bonnie and Clyde and Heathers were being workshopped at the same time. But this is like before Heathers was really like massive on the internet. So I think it was always going to make its way to London. Just not probably be as successful as it was. That's my vibe about it. Also, I'd like to mention that in my research, I found out that the Other Palace was originally named the St. James Theatre before Andrew Lloyd Webber bought it.
I'll say it. Other Palace is a better name.
It is.
Like its little logo is so good.
The logo is good, and unfortunately, and you know that the restaurant after Andrew took it on used to have a Michelin star.
Oof.
I hate to say it, this man cannot run theatres, but he ran the Other Palace. Well,
he can run theatres. He has like 5 of them.
Yeah, but he's not very nice.
Not a single one in his name.
Okay, Andy chat done.
All right.
Okay, now it's time to talk about your one contribution to this episode. So this is fandom stuff and behaviors towards it. One of like the biggest things. I don't know where to really place this, so I've just kind of put it here because it's quite an anomaly outside of it, but it was so emblematic of the time.
Is it the Barrett Albert Weed thing?
It's the Barrett Albert Weed thing.
Oh my god.
This is Nell's contribution.
It was like it was when she was in Mean Girls. It wasn't.
It was
even
when she was in Mean Girls. Yeah, but it was like a knock-on effect from Heathers.
Yeah,
becoming really popular
because she got really famous from Heathers. Like I don't really like to say that someone got famous from a specific production, but she got really famous from Heathers. Like, I mean, every single musical theatre person. If I say Barrett Albert Weed, you think Heathers.
I actually think Mean Girls because I've seen her in Mean Girls, but.
I think Mean Girls. You were obsessed with Mean Girls.
I was, as a poster on my wall. You can't see it.
Yeah.
This is video only, but there was a signed poster on my wall. But also, my thoughts on Mean Girls. It's not that great.
No, I remember once we did.
She was known from Heathers. That was her thing.
Yeah.
And
she's an incredible singer, actress, and everything. She's really good.
That voice it's insane. Well, this is important information. Do you want to talk about this?
Yes, because I remember it.
I
say I remember it, and I'm about to immediately say I don't remember which.
I watched a Catherine Steele video on it.
Yeah. It was either a tweet or an
recently.
Instagram story.
It was an Instagram story because they're like receipts in
You're right.
Catherine Steele's video.
Okay, an Instagram story. And she was basically saying that she was walking the
There's
streets of
actually
New
two
York.
instances that she names in the stories.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So one was a guy showing up to the stage door multiple times and grabbing her, and the other one was the
Which
guy and his daughters.
So that first one, like a guy at the stage door multiple times and grabbing her, I completely agree. That's weird.
Completely
That shouldn't
agree.
happen.
And also, where, because like at Broadway stage doors, and I personally stage door Mean Girls, so I can like say this with authority. There was security. Like, what the fuck was the security
Yeah,
doing?
like this was what,
2018. Stage dooring is a thing.
This is post Hamilton, so there was stage dooring is a thing and there was security. Yeah.
And the security, oh my, they were there when I personally went. I don't know where the hell they were when this happened, but whatever.
But yeah, that's fucked up. I apologize to Beryl that
she
shouldn't have to go through that.
Yeah. I feel like maybe then they stepped on their security, but like that should never happen.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. Like if she put out a story and she was like, "Do not do this at stage," I would have been like, "I completely agree, Barrett. You're so right.
Your prerogative."
Like that is a place where you're meant to. It's for you to meet fans and have a nice experience for both parties involved. And instead, you're in danger.
If you want to go home, just go home.
Yeah. But the other one she talked about was she was just on the streets of New York.
And I'm not sure the time of day. I'm going to assume it was daylight if there were these two random teenage girls roaming about.
My assumption is either right after the shows got out and she was walking home, or it was just during the day. And these two girls came up to her and they had, she assumes, and we assume, I guess, their dad with them, or at least one of their dads with them. And the girls run up to her and they're like, "Oh my God, you're gay." They were like, "Oh my God, we're such big fans. Can we get a picture? Can we get an autograph?" I love Catherine Steele.
I love Catherine Steele. She got engaged this week. I miss you,
oh my God.
Come back.
I haven't watched her videos in a while, but
I only watch them for referencing purposes for doing this. But I
should just have them on for fun. I love reading things.
So, do you want to go? Can you see it?
Please. Yeah.
Go.
So I had a horrible night last night, and I have a few things to say. She starts. I had a really shitty night last night. I was fan ambushed by a man outside our theatre. He had been waiting for me for 2 nights in the same spot. I should have blown right past him again, but I didn't. While he was holding me hostage with a pile of things to sign and a bizarre line of conversation attempting to get me to hire him for a job, someone ran up to me, screamed, "I love you," and threw herself onto my body. My ears started ringing so loudly that I couldn't hear. My heart started beating really fast, and I instantly felt blinding rage. I turned around just in time to make eye contact with her father, and I will never forget the look on his face. He was beaming at me in spite of the horror and anger on my face. The fact that you can look at someone with glee and pride while you look back at them with horror and terror is one of the most enraging experiences I've ever had. I felt fully dehumanized. In that moment, I did not exist. My feelings didn't matter. All of the boundaries I've gone to great lengths to establish disappeared like I was trying to hold on to water. All the leaps and strides forward I've taken with my mental health just turned to dust and blew away down the street. I became less than human, not to mention the absolute terror I felt when someone I don't know grabbed me and hugged me. I don't think I should need to explain how wrong that is, but apparently I do, because this is not the first time this has happened to me. In our culture, women don't get to have boundaries. We don't get to keep anything for ourselves, including ourselves. Our bodies are for public consumption. It's an act of defiance to say, "No, you can't force me to give you something I don't want to give you." And then, of course, I get called a crazy bitch for not wanting to keep the absurd things you ask for. Newsflash, I don't give a flying fuck if you think I'm a bitch. That word was made up to gaslight women into subservience. I don't care if you think my boundaries are rude. They're my fucking boundaries, and I will make you respect them. I've said for years on end at this point that I do not want to do the stage door, and I've been kind about it. And if you stop me on the street, I've been polite. But I'm so angry right now that I feel the need to say, if anything happens this weekend, I will cuss you out. You are not entitled to me. You do not get to touch me. You do not get to prey on my politeness. I demand your respect. I demand a decent life for myself. Last night, I made it to 9th Avenue before I burst into tears. Not because I was scared, but because I was so fucking angry. I shouldn't have to worry about being touched on the street. I shouldn't have to repeat myself over and over and over again on the subject of my boundaries. And I refuse to be turned into a villain for not wanting to talk to hundreds of strangers I don't know after I've just finished an exhausting performance. Here's something I've never said before. I don't get the stage door. I never have. I never did it as a kid. I just wanted to go to dinner with my mother and go see a show and go home. That time with my mother was such a gift. I didn't need to meet anyone. I didn't need to ask for autographs. And a few times, she goes on a bit, doesn't she?
Yeah. So, sometimes I'm like, oh my god, she's actually making points, but I was just too dumb and young to understand what she was actually on about. But now I'm like, I don't, you know?
I think she is making some points, but
Yeah,
honestly, is it the last one?
I think so. Let me check.
Oh, nope.
Oh, here we are. This is the last one, I believe.
Don't force me into a position where I have to be rude to you.
Yeah, it's the last one. So, now that we've read the receipts, what do we have to say?
I think, like, okay, some parts of it, like, I do agree that people shouldn't be touching her
Yeah,
without her
100%.
consent.
100%. And
Like-
obviously, like, if she feels that way, then that sucks. That shouldn't be
Yeah.
what the stage door is for.
Yeah. And it's like,
Her feminist rant was actually quite interesting to me as someone who now can understand those concepts
yeah.
as well.
But it's like, I think her anger at that girl's father is, I think now is completely justified.
Yeah. She wasn't angry
Like-
at the girl.
Yeah, because like I went to a show recently. It wasn't like a play, or it was kind of a play. It wasn't a musical or anything. But I went to a show recently, and there was this kid behind us who kept basically shouting out during the show, especially during points where it was meant to be serious, like kept trying to talk to the performer. And it was annoying, definitely, like 100%. Like everyone near us was really annoyed by her. But we were more annoyed because her mum took her and then kept leaving to go to the bar. Like literally, because they weren't right at the end of the row, so she kept jumping over the seats to go to the bar. I mean, she wasn't like, it wasn't like she was hitting into anyone or anything, or like disturbing
It's
anyone
just
that
like
much.
it's just like a contract though of like if you go to the theatre you kind of like sit there unless it's interval.
Yeah, and especially if you're bringing a child.
Or an emergency.
Yeah, it's like when you go and see like Frozen or The Lion King or like all of those Disney on stage musicals.
I've never had an issue with children though there.
Yeah, like obviously they are there for children.
Yeah.
The children are the ones that want to go there.
100%.
But if you're a parent and you're taking them, you are responsible for their actions.
100%.
And I think that holds true in this thing about Barrett Albert Weed, because that dad should have said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry."
Or like,
the kid's name
hey,
is-
child, don't ambush someone. Be nice.
And I think this especially, I don't know if this is a witty to say, it definitely wouldn't
No.
happen post-pandemic.
No, I think stage door culture's kind of died down a lot.
Yeah. Like, between you and me,
Yeah.
we definitely used to stage door a lot before
Yeah.
pandemic, and now we
Yeah.
just don't. Like, we see a show, we're like, wow, that was so incredible. The performers were amazing. Oh,
I
want
wanna
to tell them
go
how much I
home.
love them. Let's go home.
I wonder though if that's just like we're not 15 anymore, or if it's a pandemic thing. I wonder if it's both.
I think it's a mix of both.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think some of the points she's making
I
are
did
really true. She doesn't owe anyone
stage
her
door
attention.
into the woods when I saw it though.
It's fair. It's fair.
Because I really thought about it. I was like, I don't stage door anymore, but I kind of need to. And they set it up really well. Like they didn't actually like talk
Yeah.
to people. You just kind of like stood, they said hi, and then they went away, and then you were told to leave. And so I went to
Yeah.
go get pizza.
Yeah. I think the first thing, I think stage dooring has changed a lot since this experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, she doesn't owe anyone her attention. She doesn't owe anyone her time.
Yes.
She
100%.
she performs a job. She gets paid for her job, and then stage door is basically overtime.
Her contract like ends the second the curtain falls.
Yeah.
Like that's her done. She gets to leave and go home. Bye. Like fair enough.
If I was stage dooring something and a performer I loved didn't come out, I'd be sad.
I was like,
But
like
they don't owe me it.
even like when I staged on Mean Girls, I was like, okay, like we've been told to go home. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go eat some food and like
Yeah.
live a life. You know,
I think
I've got
and I
places
think
to
this
be.
was yeah, I think this was also definitely a thing when this first all happened.
Yeah.
So a lot of the controversy around it wasn't what she was actually saying, because again, she's completely within her right to not do stage door, to not want people coming up to her.
And Catherine
It was-
Steele, she makes the analogy between her Barrett and Christy Altamore, who famously loved stage dooring.
Yeah.
And
Like some performers love it, some performers don't. Some
Some do if they
audience
want
members
to.
love it, some audience members hate it.
Yeah. It's personal preference for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that they should all be allowed to do whatever they want in a safe
Yeah.
and happy way.
But I think there's two things that the main points about the controversy in this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Which was one, if you are a performer, especially in a wildly successful production like Heathers and Mean Girls,
catering towards teen girls.
Yeah, you cannot expect to never get recognized and never have anyone come up to you and never like have an out of ordinary experience on the street, especially if you live in New York.
It kind of sucks.
It sucks. It really does, and it's why a lot of people don't go into that life.
Yeah, you do have to be aware that there is a level of your anonymity that you are losing in a certain way. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that this is the way things are.
It really unfortunately is. And it's like, I don't think, people should be stalking her. Or,
no, that's a crime.
Yeah. And it's not even like particularly in Broadway, I found, but in celebrities and like in general,
culture.
Like people shouldn't be going to their house, shouldn't be following them in the car.
That's weird.
Shouldn't be trying to find them in places they frequent.
I mean, the Taylor Swift example of everyone queuing up outside Electric Lady Studios. It's like, this is this woman's place of work. Please leave, get a job, go home. Like, sorry.
But it's like there's a different, like, I shan't say where I live actually. I've just realized I shouldn't do that.
I mean, our Mike Feist on a bike story is pretty good for what to do. We saw
it's like that
Broadway star Mike Feist and kept walking because he has a life. He was living his life. Also, we're not sure if it was him. He was living his life.
Yeah.
And we had places to be, Yeah.
Because like the two places I live when I'm at uni, when I'm not at uni, are pretty popular places for somewhat famous people to be in. I shan't say more than that. It's like there's a difference
major city in the UK.
Two major cities.
Yeah. Push around this time as well of actors don't owe you anything at the stage door because people have become so accustomed to meeting people at the stage door and feeling almost entitled to them. Yeah.
And I think the other thing is about that stage door thing, which is she's perfectly fine to not like the stage door. She doesn't have to do it.
I swear there's a separate exit.
Yeah. She can either leave through the front, she can wait until the stage, because I don't know if you've ever been to a stage door, but usually at some point they'll say, that's it, no one else is coming out, you have to
they'll
go.
like let you leave.
And they'll force you away.
Normally by that point I'm like, peace out, I'm going home.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
It was the way that she was
at the stage door.
Yeah, but it was also the way she was insulting isn't the right word.
She was
negative towards people who did like the stage door. And she was like, it's weird. I hate the stage door. No one should like it.
It was very much like I don't like this, so you don't like it. Positive interactions can happen at the stage door when everyone is happy.
Yeah. But I think the thing is, with a Broadway or even West End performer, you kind of lucked out because you're really, I remember seeing a fucking Tumblr post about this, I think. You're really famous to some people.
I know,
most people don't go into like theatre or anything for the fame.
Yeah. I mean, especially something like theatre.
Yeah, but it's a consequence that you have to be able to come to terms with.
When you get to a certain level, you have to be aware of it. This kind of left Barrett in this really weird position, though, because she was not engaging. I mean, Ryan McCartan is on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
He has a couples channel.
I actually do enjoy his couples channel. It's quite funny.
I refuse to watch it on the principle of I hate all couples channels.
It's kind of cute because his like...
No.
Are they married?
No.
His girlfriend, fiance, I don't know what they are. I think it's cute because I think his girlfriend's like a big Broadway fan, and then he's a Broadway actor.
Yeah,
So they like watch stuff about that, and then they have two different views about it.
Okay. Yeah. I don't like any couples channels.
It left Barrett Wilbert-Weed in this really weird position because she's an incredible actress, an incredible singer, an incredible performer in general.
Yes, yeah.
But the fans that every single show was trying to appeal to didn't like her anymore.
Well,
when she had been like this massive...
her, but they didn't feel loved by her, if that makes sense. Like people,
but it's also
people couldn't have the parasocial relationship that they wanted.
Yeah, because like the hardcore fans, which in reality are the ones that people try to market to.
Yeah.
Because they are the ones that will keep coming back, that will keep talking about it to give you free promotion.
Free online promo, like Dear Evan Hansen.
Yeah, and the one thing you really don't want to say to them is, I don't like you.
And
you have given me She said that.
She said the very taboo thing, and I kind of respect her for it nowadays.
I do think, like, even then, I kind of thought she was in the right a little bit.
Yeah, even then I was like, yeah, it's understandable. Like, if that's happened to you, it sucks.
And now, especially, I think she was in the right. I think she handled it slightly badly.
I think she
Like,
probably
I
could
think
have
there
said
were
it more eloquently, but I think her points are interesting and
I
worth
think the thing is, there were definitely better ways she could have phrased it and said it. But she also literally says that she wrote it the day after.
You
So
can
she was
tell
still
it's
very
very
emotional.
emotional, and I do find her feminist commentary on it very interesting.
Yeah, it seems, I hate to say this, it does seem like a little bit of a jump.
It does, but I can see
Like
how
she's
if
like, oh, I don't want to do stage door because I want boundaries and I don't really want to be with fans like that all the time because I've just done a big performance. To what did you say? This is made to keep women subservient?
yeah, I can see though if she's really angry, she's just going and going and going and going and being like, and then
Yeah, because I
this
can
and then
see
this and then
if your
this.
boundaries are being disrespected as much as hers were, then I can see the jump to this would only happen to a woman because in
Yes.
reality it would.
Yeah.
Like you would never get that happening to a male performer, and that's
Aaron
really
Tveit
bad.
puts that out. Everyone's like, "We love you, Aaron. We support you."
Everyone was like, anyone disrespecting Aaron Tveit's boundaries, I'm going to kill you.
Exactly. Yeah. No, the response would have been.
And Barrett will believe it was wow. Because I think even now, like the things we're saying, we would still really only say about one performer, like saying, "Oh, but she has to."
Yeah. So Tumblr.
Oh God.
The hell site that it is. But I also kind of like it. Kind of love it.
I love Tumblr.
It was only in the top 10 for fandoms once. In 2017.
I never got the vibe that it was a big Tumblr fandom.
It wasn't. It was on Instagram.
I was gonna say it was definitely an Instagram fandom.
And I was heavily on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
So
like Dance Mums was an Instagram fandom.
It was. Yeah. No more questions.
Let's leave that there.
That just unlocked like a hellhole for me. Thank you very much now.
Yeah. The only thing I will say is I know that every year on September 1st I get a sudden I don't know who I follow on Tumblr anymore because I only follow like 100 people max and half of them are inactive. Every single year on September 1st I get that sudden influx of September 1st, 1989, Dear Diary.
Yeah. Yes, it was only at number 6 once. I don't think it was. I think it was like I think there was a certain level of spillover because all of the posts that we posted on Instagram were Tumblr posts that just reposted.
Yeah, I feel like again it goes back to the pipeline thing where it was blogs and people who are primarily fans of like
I mean there was hashtags that were started like before this all took off with Halloween Heathers where people were encouraged to dress up in the costumes because they were so easy to do.
I do remember that.
Some great fan participation. I mean Heathers is perfect for cosplaying. I've never done it. I'd like it to be known. Never cosplayed as a Heather.
I've never cosplayed as a Heather.
I've never cosplayed in general actually.
I don't think I have.
Modern day Heather's Tumblr tag is dead, but you could tell that there once was something. Is that weird vibe?
Yeah. It had a lot of if you go on top post, there's a lot of posts, but there's nothing in recent.
There is about four main categories that I was able to pick out. TikTok lives.
Yes.
Fan art.
Yeah.
Discussion of the 80s movie and talking about it in conjunction with other musicals.
Yeah.
I do have examples if you'd like to see them.
Can I guess? This says, I can see in the tag, it says Holy Trinity. I know what this is because I sent it to you.
No.
Oh my God, this is a different one.
This is a different one.
Oh, now this is the pipeline.
This is the pipeline. Yeah. I mean, the prom snuck in at the end.
Fatherly musical numbers. To Break in a Glove, the Pants song, My Dead Gay Son. Now, really fun that two of these are metaphors.
Yeah.
And neither of them entirely make sense.
No. Okay, next one.
I do prefer the Pants song to Break in a Glove.
This is controversial. So the post is...
This was a big thing, though.
It was a big
I remember
thing.
this.
Yeah. This one sparks joy and it's Lightning Thief, Be More Chill, 6.
Marie Kondo.
Be More Chill again.
I love Be More Chill.
Both versions. Do you love both versions?
No.
Heather's I'm about to say something that was not Beetlejuice, Mean Girls, Prom,
Right.
Dear Evan Hansen. This one does
You
not
missed out the
spark.
lightning thief.
I did say Lightning Thief. I said it first.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Sorry.
This one does not spark joy, and it's Hamilton.
Also, okay, I'm gonna say this very tentatively. This is from 2022.
Yeah, this is like from Tumblr user Evan Loves Trees, so it's gonna be. There's a lot of dead gay son talk.
Fuck you saying Connor Murphy's dad. He was straight.
He is straight and like
Straight up
all
suicidal.
incarnations of the story, but one which is basically published fanfic. So,
That's genius.
yeah.
It's really putting this out. It's fine. My old
Well,
blog was
see.
deleted because I violated the guidelines.
Right, bootleg time. Bootleg time. Time for us to rant about bootlegs for a couple.
I've
minutes.
never seen a bootleg.
Never seen a bootleg. However, there are many. There were like two. There were two big bootlegs, and they were slightly different. One was of the closing Broadway cast.
Yeah.
And one was of the original Broadway cast. The original, I've never seen a bootleg, and I don't know about the scene of Heather's bootlegs, I swear. But back in the day, the Heather's bootleg that used to be the hardest to find was the original compared to the closing cast. So I just did a quick Google, and I don't know how to find bootlegs, but many versions of the bootleg are on YouTube, and they have upwards of 100k views.
Jesus.
Like back in the day, if bootleg used to get more than 20,000 views, it would get removed. The original off-Broadway versions are the most popular, which supports the theory of if you just keep a show running, then people will go see it.
Anyway, yeah.
So the bootlegs are really easy to find out. It's kind of concerning. I was like, these children have no tech skills.
I bet I can find one in 5 seconds.
Well, I found one within 2 seconds. I literally put Heather's slime tutorial, came up. Even like
I found one.
Yeah, even like unlisted playlists with a weird name, and then you used to have to decode what it was. It used to take you a solid 10 minutes at least, and that was easy. Anyway,
Never watched a bootleg, and I would never seek out bootlegs.
I'll never look for bootlegs. Out one, but you know,
I have.
So at this point, I was a bit like, so how did Heathers become so mainstream within the musical theatre fandom? If it wasn't really that big on anything, really, it didn't really have a hub of just like insanity. I mean, yes, there was still people baby girling JD. There was normal fandom behavior happening at all points, but it was never insane.
Yeah.
So around this time, I remembered the existence of the Heathers TV show. Do you remember this?
Oh my god, yes.
Yes, that was my reaction to remembering it. So for 2018, in some reason, they decided to do a TV show of Heathers for a modern audience. Like the teens weren't connecting to Heathers enough. So they decided to reboot it, which is ridiculous. Okay, so they decided to reboot it for a modern audience because the kids today weren't vibing enough with Heathers, which I think is a big fat lie as a child at the time. We were all loving Heathers and loving the original movie. So some of the changes that they made were kind of batshit. The show, described as a pitch black comedy anthology set in the present day with a group of all new Heathers who have the same character names from the original film, but this time the outcasts are the ones who become high school royalty. Heather Duke, played by a character who identified as genderqueer. Heather Mack is a black lesbian, and Heather Chandler is played by a plus-size woman. Veronica is still a skinny white woman, which I kind of think is ridiculous because
that's.
Have you stepped foot in a high school, my dude? The person who made up this? We have not made that many strides when it comes to who's bullying and who's being bullied.
Exactly.
I have issues with this because, obviously, as I said, the Heathers, the people that would be the Heathers are still the people that were the Heathers that like played the Heathers in the 80s. It's still skinny, heteronormative white women.
Yeah.
and people from the backgrounds of the Heathers uh not it, were being the ones bullied.
Yeah.
So fun fact, this show did not last very long, believe it or not. It was set to be released on March 7th, but got pushed back as a result of the Parkland shooting in February. It was then set for a
Yeah.
July 10th release, but then another school shooting happened that killed 10 people at a high school in Santa Fe, Texas. In May, Paramount decided to pull the show indefinitely. It was then placed on the Paramount Plus app at the end of October. So, a shitstorm from start to finish, but people were talking about it.
Yeah, I think it kind of for a while had that mentality that all press is bad, but all press is good press.
Yeah, it was like right when those Riverdale, like, what the hell's happening in Riverdale, like,
Yeah.
videos were really, really popular. So everyone just kind of jumped on the Heathers thing bandwagon. But in all of these articles and everything discussing it, they would bring up the fact that there is a musical.
Yeah.
So I think that really helped in some weird, perverted way. There's a great video by Sarah Zed about it. I have it linked. Half the comments are people making Heather's musical references, which I found so interesting.
Yeah.
So then we're going to talk about My 9/11.
Ah,
The fact that I can say that, you're like, yes, I know what you mean.
I know what you are talking about.
Riverdale Heathers, it was like in that part where it just finished at the Haymarket. A lot of people knew about it. It was big. So in chapter 51, Big Fun, they did Heathers at Riverdale High for some reason. So some of the issues with this is, one, why are Riverdale's doing musicals? Two, they had to like add in the character Betty Flynn, who's not in the musical but is in the movie, because they didn't have an actor who could play Martha Dunstock.
Yeah.
Which in that case, don't do Heathers. Yeah, but they had choice of musicals. That's what's so frustrating. They had to get like the creative team to sign off on this.
I think the other thing is I'm not entirely well versed in Riverdale's plot.
Nor am I. I don't want to.
But I am not entirely sure that Heathers was the only musical that would fit their plot and make sense.
They did a ton of musicals, and each time it just got a little bit more personal. So they did Carrie, which was like annoying, but whatever. Then they did Heathers.
Any show set in a high school can do Carrie, because you always have a bullied character.
Yeah, then they did Heathers, and that was like My 9/11. But then, after it like died off a bit, they did something so bad, they did Next to Normal.
Did they do Hedwig at some point?
They also did Hedwig for some reason.
Yeah.
It is interesting the strange array of musicals they chose to do, if I'm gonna be honest. So they did 9 songs from the musical, which is actually quite a lot for like an hour TV show.
Yeah.
So they did Beautiful as the opening number. Yawn. Candy Store with changed lyrics like Go Play Duck Duck Goose and like flipping sound effects.
Yeah.
Fight for Me.
I remember
Yeah, go ahead.
They changed it really weirdly.
Can you like hear
they
the sound
changed
effects?
Candy Store really weirdly.
It was like strange censorship. Fight for Me, they did it in a boxing ring for some reason. Big Fun. I don't know what happened and I don't want to watch it again. Dead Girl Walking turns into a threesome at one point on stage.
What the hell?
I'm like, huh? Riverdale, what the hell? Our Love Is God? I don't remember hearing anything about it. 17. I think like all of the main couples in the show sing.
I feel like 17's kind of hard to fuck up.
Yeah, and they also did a fuck up Lifeboat, which is really hard to fuck up. And then what I consider one of their worst crimes, 17 Reprise. So, you know how the line in 17 Reprise is Martha, are you free tonight? They said that.
I don't even think that's the tune.
No. All of them were lined up on the stage and they all sung Martha, are you free tonight? But they cut the character.
My God. Like, at least be consistent with it.
That's just lazy at that point. Also, Chad Michael Murray was there for some reason.
Was this also the one where they had, and I hate to say it because I don't know him any other way, Corey Cott's brother?
Yes.
And they
He's in
didn't
it.
give him a singing role.
Yeah, no, he's the director of all the musicals. No, he got a singing role in Beautiful. He sung in Beautiful. But when they did Carrie, like he didn't sing. And everyone was like, wow, that's
Wow.
ridiculous. But it was really annoying for me when they did Riverdale Heathers because people would come up to me like, they did that musical you like on Riverdale, and I was like, stop talking to me. You don't get Heathers the way I get
Yeah.
Heathers.
Yeah. It was just very, it was
Like I could
it's trying to make
handle
musical theatre like mainstream, which it will never be. Musical theatres will never be mainstream. Hamilton was the closest we got, and even then people still hated it.
I mean, I could take them doing Carrie because I was quite divorced from it almost. Like it was a
Yeah.
musical. I liked the music and I thought it was funny how they did it. But Heathers, I felt, especially back then, I felt so passionately about, and I felt like was so special that when girls from my house from that we went to school with would come up to me and be like, "Hey, they did Heathers. It sucked." I saw red.
Yeah.
It got memed, and it was meant for people to be introduced to Heathers, but it didn't.
Yeah.
So this was all around the time of the 30th anniversary of the movie, and the USA Today have stated, did like an article on it about why Heathers is still so popular. Again, the musical got mentioned in that. They said Heathers
Yeah.
is suited to Generation Z's famously quirky, off-putting sense of humor, which I kind of agree with.
I kind of, yeah.
So, because of all of this fun times and buzz around Heathers, it only made sense that it would have a run somewhere. And because it had been in production with the other palace pre this, it was announced to have an 8-week run at the other palace with casting of Carrie Hope Fletcher, noted online star, as the lead role of Veronica. Andy Fickman stated in the press release, after an incredibly warm reception that our workshop received at the other palace last year, we are hugely grateful to Ben Cartwright, the other palace, and Paul Taylor Mills for affording us the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to refine the book, add new songs, and reimagine the staging for this show. Has been such an extraordinary labour of love. We thank them gently with a chainsaw. So from the very inception of this production, it was very much said that this isn't going to be Off-Broadway Heathers. This is its own thing. We're revamping it.
Mm.
And I think that's where it succeeded
Yeah.
and helped avoid the trap that some of the other shows that we're going to talk about have fallen into, aka B-Boy Show. So as I said, it opened like Carrie Hope Fletcher's the stunt cast.
Oh yeah. She's incredible.
Honestly, she was the best person to cast for this role, and there was backlash around it.
Yeah.
People got quite rude about her weight, which is just ridiculous.
It made sense. It made sense,
Get
anyways.
fucking grip. Go touch some grass. That's all I have to say on that.
Go touch grass. It's theatre. There's always leeway with theatre.
Also, who cares?
Exactly.
Yeah. But she's the perfect person to cast because the people that they'd want coming to see the show were people that watched Carrie Hope Fletcher's vlogs.
Yeah, like she had like internet fame.
Mm-hmm.
She was well known for her voice.
Mm-hmm. And she could sell tickets to this thing that
Yeah.
people weren't sure about whether or not they'd go see. So it expanded the demographic alongside the diehard fans, it's actually quite hard to do.
Yeah, they did it really well.
They did it very, very well. So the other palace only, like the main stage, only has 312 seats, which isn't a lot. Again, it's a small theatre. It's a relatively short run with a stunt cast. It's going to sell. It sold out. And again, you get so much free advertising through Carrie's vlogs.
Yeah.
She did, I can't remember the name of them. They were like Veronica vlogs or something. There was like a pun to it. She was backstage at Heathers, doing her life, singing her songs. And it was what it was. It grew healthily. And then it kept being extended and extended and extended. And then finally, in September of 2018, they transferred it to the West End for a strictly 12-week limited run, running from the 3rd of September. This was when I saw Heathers. It was the first ever fish ticket I bought with my own money.
Oh my god, that's so cute.
It was. I spent more money than I would on a fish ticket now on it. It wasn't a lot. It was like £40.
Oh yeah.
Haymarket was also good because it was like the Haymarket's not a place where musicals normally go.
Yeah.
Again, it still gave it a bit of that underdog feel.
It made you feel like you were indie and cool for seeing it, even though it was Heathers and
Even though
everyone
it
knew
was
what Heathers was
Heathers
by that
and
point.
on the West End.
Yeah.
Like it had reached the top. Lin-Manuel Miranda goes to the press gala. And
Iconic.
all of the press around the press gala is like, Lin is here. Lin. Woo, look at him. He's at Heathers.
It is like he's using his power for good.
I really appreciate him going to see Heathers actually.
Because in the musical, especially in that time, in the musical theatre world, if Lin was somewhere, the press was there.
Yeah. And around the time there were a lot of comparisons because everyone was like, oh my god, all these teens who got into Hamilton are now going to see Heathers. And then I was
Wow,
like,
it's almost like there's a pipeline between
there's a
them.
pipeline. And then I was thinking about it, I was like,
Has someone picked up on this?
I was thinking about it and I was like, this is all what everyone said about Dear Evan Hansen. But then I was thinking about it, I was like, Dear Evan Hansen hadn't made its way to the UK yet. Heathers
It was going to.
It hadn't even been announced.
It was like before Hamilton went to the UK, everyone was like, it's gonna go to the West End.
Yeah, but it hadn't. So we were having
same with Dear Evan Hansen. Like everyone was like, it's gonna go. Heathers, I was always like, oh, it's never gonna come here.
Heathers, yeah, I was like, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
And so when I finally saw it, I was like, praise Jesus. And then I went another 4 times.
Just in case it went away and you never got to see it again. You just had to make
I'm
sure.
not seeing it again. Hold me to that, please, I hope.
What if they casted Jeremy Jordan as JD?
He's already played the role.
He comes back.
I would be like, Jeremy, what the hell are you doing here? Go play Gatsby. Anyway,
Barrett All But Weird comes back as Veronica.
I feel like I'd have to.
Exactly.
Simply for like my 13-year-old self.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't live with myself if I didn't do that. Like I'd be like, I just killed her. So as I said, there were changes that were made to the show because it was very much introduced to the British public as well as a work in progress.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. So 2 of the first changes that were made like from the start of the run were the removal of Blue, the inclusion of You're Welcome, and Never Shut Up Again. So on Blue, here's what the composers had to say. Although it was fun to write and perform, Blue has always been polarizing. Some thought Blue was wonderful and all good fun. Others were offended, feeling we were treating date rape as a laughing matter. It went through our list of things that we needed to alter or replace. As it happens in musicals, you reach a point where you've run out of rehearsal time and are forced to lock in the show as it is. That's what happened to us with Blue. For us, the main issue with Blue is that it is lazy. It is a variation of an old musical theatre trope. The list song and lacked any real human insight into the idea of date rape and culture of male teenagers' entitlement that is allowed to exist. Additionally, the fact that the number often plays successfully makes it dangerous. It also plays into the lie that sexual harassment and assault can be trivialized as locker talk or boyish antics. Unlike Blue, You're Welcome doesn't shy away from showing that Veronica is in real danger from these 2 drunk arseholes. In Blue, Veronica says about 3 words total. In You're Welcome, she gets to articulate her fears and her dilemma. And then she gets to solve her problem and solve a victory over the tormentors. We've tried to do a better job with You're Welcome. We hope audiences agree as Heathers moves into its next phase of life.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Blue is funnier, but it's a serious topic. Treat it like it. Yeah. I mean, one interesting thing that I saw brought up by a TikTok creator we're going to talk about in a minute. She said that this You're Welcome was written during the Me Too movement, during the height of the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting cultural context to think about that I think we forget when talking about this.
Yeah, I just think Blue was written around 2009-ish.
Yes.
Then it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
For the lyrics. Because I think very few people seriously think that Blue is a serious song. Like, no one is going in and thinking, wow, this is what people mean. This is what the creators think. It's
Yeah.
always been, this is a jokey song, but it makes the actual serious matter jokey, which isn't right.
So the other song that was included or written for this production,
Never Shut Up
Never Shut Up
Again.
Again. So there was a TikTok that I have spent ages trying to find since like we started working on this because I knew I wanted to include it.
Oh my God.
I have found it seamless, but I think about it every time I listen to the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it runs through my head every time I listen to it. If the audio didn't work, it is a black woman talking about when she went to go see Heathers, and Tashawn Williams, who played Heather Duke in the West End production, who is a black woman, said the line, "Girls like me can't climb high, can't crack that ceiling." She was referring to the struggles that black women face, and every time I listen to it, that's what pops in my head. It is by,
I think it's,
the TikTok user is TN Dynamite 714.
I think it's, that song has done really well in basically cementing Heather Duke as a character to be played by people of color.
Yeah, I mean, after,
Because we haven't had a white Heather Duke since the song was introduced.
I think covers.
Have we?
I think I have to check on touring casts and I think most of the time she is played by a woman of color. And I think
Yeah.
covers, but every time Tess also has a really good TikTok about the context behind You're Welcome. Her Heather's content is actually pretty good. Like, I really enjoy it. I was watching it yesterday.
And I feel like the thing was, we were talking about it earlier with the covers and understudies and stuff, they basically only have one swing.
Yeah.
So that's a problem within itself, and that's why they're restricted when someone has to cover Heather Duke.
Mm-hmm. And I know that Hannah Lowther covered all three Heathers at one point.
Yeah.
Which was insane.
That is really insane.
Like, that's batshit. Hire more people, please.
Please.
So,
because the cast used to be, but I don't want to say that the Heathers cast was really white, because they have had
I think
other non-white people play.
I mean, the first woman of color to play Veronica has only happened like in the past couple months. So yeah, it's been pretty white.
It's always been that it always felt like Heather Duke was like the, I don't want to say diversity cast.
If anyone was going to be,
if
any one of the Heathers was going to be played by a woman of color, it was going to be Heather Duke.
It's like the Eponine thing.
It is the Eponine thing, but because I will say
it is because Heather Duke is like the least likable Heather.
I wonder if that, yeah.
Because Chandler you like because she's funny, she's there quite a lot. She's bitchy. Veronica. People ship her with Veronica.
People do ship her with Veronica. They also ship her and McNamara.
Yeah, McNamara, everyone loves.
I saw Frances Mailey McCann play McNamara, and she was amazing. Yeah. That's just because Frances Mailey McCann's amazing.
It's Frances Mailey McCann.
And then I texted you when she got cast in Bonnie and Clyde. I was like, no, she's good.
Yeah. But she's almost the underdog.
Yes.
She's very sweet. She seems out of place with the other two Heathers. And then Duke is like, before the introduction of Never Shut Up Again, Duke's only song was Shine a Light Reprise.
Yes.
Which is telling her friend to kill herself.
Yes, yeah.
Which is not great.
No.
And so it's the same thing with like, the reason we're calling it the Eponine thing is when you see casts of Les Mis, when they introduce a person of color to play, usually a female person of color, it's usually to play Eponine, not Kazak. Like, they're both very likable. Like, people are diehard Eponine fans, but like, Eponine deserves better. Eponine, you can't add to this because she has never seen it. It's like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have people of color in your cast, because you should.
Obviously, like, 100%.
Like, why has it taken this long to get a person of color to play Veronica?
Why has it taken this long to get a woman of color to play Meg?
I think it's not just a casting issue. It's because like musical theatre courses and things tend to be dominated by white people.
This is just such a systemic issue.
Yeah, and it's like why Hamilton was such a big deal. In a
Exactly.
way that now looking back, we're like, oh, why was it such a big deal? Like,
I think if you weren't there, then you don't get it.
I don't know, it is an issue that I don't entirely feel qualified to talk on. It's just something I've noticed. So I'm not gonna go deeper than I
I'm
have
not
noticed this.
I'm not gonna go deeper than because we are both white women. Um
Yeah.
so it's not our place to say, but we have heard people express their frustrations about it. So
Yeah, and that
here they
like
are. And I agree 100%.
something should be done. I don't know if we're the people to make that change
We're
just
not the
yet.
people to suggest how we make those changes.
Yeah.
Um and then the last song that they put in like halfway like right at the last week of the Other Palace run, I woke up one day, checked Instagram, and there's a new song in the Heathers, and it is Veronica's song.
I don't remember if I saw Veronica's song.
I don't think you did.
I don't think I did.
So it was I Say
So I've
No.
never seen it live. Yeah, I've never seen it live.
And like the first time I ever heard it, because I stayed away from bootlegs because I've never watched one.
I've never watched a bootleg.
I stayed away. And so when I first saw it was the first time hearing I Say No. And I think I was so bamboozled by it that I didn't really get it. And then when I saw it the second time, I was like, oh, this is the greatest song ever alive.
It's a really good song.
It's amazing. But it is like they congratulated themselves. They're like, oh, our main character finally has her own songs. Well done, guys. We've done it. I was like, this is ridiculous.
It built up a lot of because the character she suddenly becomes for 17 for Dead Girl Walking reprise
Yes, yeah.
is not really one that we've seen at any other point.
It works very well in like the narrative structure of the show.
Yeah.
Because that's when she starts standing up, and then that goes into like Shine a Light, I believe. It was a bad time to be me though when like I say that they did release it first on the cast album,
Yeah, it was on the cast album.
and they like released it before everything else.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "We want to hear I Say No." Critical reception. The Guardian said the audience looked like they were born at least 2 decades after the movie came out and shrieked with joy throughout. If this is what I found really interesting, if jukebox musicals are for baby boomers, musicals inspired by films are empathetically for their children and grandchildren.
Hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I feel like that's a pretty common sentiment nowadays. But back in the day, we weren't really thinking that critically. They also say the music is so generic it falls out of your memory as soon as you leave the theatre, with the exception being 2 lovely ballads, 17, in which Veronica pleads to be normal and a normal, non-murdering teenager, and Freeze Your Brain, JD's plead to frozen slushies that help him numb his feelings. What is it with Guardian writers with the fucking word plead?
They learned this word and they have not stopped using it.
In such moments, Heathers nails what the movie made great and even goes deeper. They gave it 3 stars. The Telegraph, which have had a wild history of Heathers, let me just say it offers close up on impressive faces and attain the sustained deadpan of the film. But what it does do, using the leveler switching power of song to send you on a psychological roller coaster, lurching between sincerity, insincerity, triviality, and profundity, challenging you to gag or guffaw at runaway rebellious bad taste of it all. Is it up there with Hamilton? No, that's not the point. It's down with the kids dawning the corridors of power, where in favor looks on you. When in favor looks on you, does it help to be a fan of the film? Sure, but we have all been there. 4 stars. Fun fact, the Telegraph then reviewed Heathers when it went back to the Haymarket. And do you want to know what the headline was? It made me gag. Heathers, trashy, loud, and why so sexy? 2 stars.
Oh my god.
I was like, the Telegraph saying that makes me want to go see it. So again, it was better reviews than the Off-Broadway version, but still not amazing. They also did such things as sing-along performances, which sounds like my idea of hell, but it was kind of revolutionary.
I feel like the sing-along performances are what inspired such bad etiquette in theatres.
Yes, from like die-hard theatre fans.
Yeah.
So, I mean, other musicals that off the top of my head I could think of that have done it are Six and Anne Juliet.
And Juliet, I hate. Also, it's a jukebox, so
Yeah.
it doesn't count.
Six on
Because
that land.
you could take your parents to it and they could sing along.
People sang along when I was there. I was like, it is COVID. Shut your face.
Put your mask back on and shut up.
So there was a cast recording done of the show as we said. It went to number 24 on the UK charts and number 12 on the soundtracks chart.
That's pretty good.
And that was hype for this thing.
Yeah.
The people were hyped. I still do favor the original Off-Broadway recording. That's just a personal preference.
I think the added songs from the West End one make me prefer it.
No, I like merge them together.
Yeah.
If I'm listening to Heathers, I will go in and like add the new songs, and I won't listen to Blue. So, and then at like the awards season that year, it won Best Musical at the What's on the Stage Awards, which was amazing for it because it was like in every incarnation of Heathers since. All of the marketing has been Best Musical winner, and then they announced a UK tour in 2019 to take place in 2020. We all know how that went.
It happened. It went in 2021.
It was like one of the first big tours after the pandemic. I mean, we'll get to it in a different episode, but bringing Heathers back after the pandemic was kind of genius.
Yeah.
It was the first show I saw post-COVID, and I had a lot of feelings and emotions. Anyway. Then Heathers started going viral on TikTok in 2020. Oh, you could say my 9/11 part 2. What I remember is one day I went to school. I was on TikTok at this point, going to school, and girls were doing dang dang diggy dang dang. You know that bit? Dang dang diggity dang dang. And I was like, I'm going to throw myself off of something. Stop doing that, you idiot. You don't get Heathers in the way I do. It was a tough time being a Heathers stan, actually. Just in those years, because it kept going into the mainstream in really annoying ways.
They had the Meant to Be Yours.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in the next part.
That was funny. I remember seeing Tom Sanders do it.
Yeah, but Tom Sanders has kind of been a part of the Heathers narrative for years.
Thomas Sanders was JD at one point.
Yeah, exactly. Like that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But again, like the costuming aspect of it it played like a massive part in it. So the original sound.
I don't even remember what the big fun trend was. Was it like just doing it?
You would just like move your hand up and down and like act out like the shut up, Heather. Sorry, Heather. Look who's with her. Oh my god. And then do the
yeah,
you know, that part. So at the time of recording this, it has 2 million videos on TikTok. The official Off-Broadway sound has 2 million videos. So, and then Candy Store also went kind of viral. And the West End recording.
Also don't remember what this went viral for.
No clue. It has 10K videos. What the fuck are you all doing?
Try and look it up.
Yeah. Anyway, Heather's constantly at the scene of the crime, going viral for all the wrong reasons, causing me excruciating life pain at this point. Like, stop doing the dang dang diggy dang bit. You are a fully grown adult.
People were just using it as a background for stuff. That's what it was.
Is it like fandom activity though, or is it?
No, I just saw something for for someone drawing something. It wasn't
interesting. Anyway,
and it's the or you could come smoke, found some rum and coke in my Porsche with the quarterback.
Hey, okay. Wow. This is actually where our Heather's journey ends.
For now,
because it comes back. It comes back, baby.
Unfortunately.
Actually, I really liked the 2021 production at the Haymarket.
I think I'll be able to talk more on the second episode.
Okay.
Because I know more about it. I only really knew vaguely the fandom stuff.
Yeah,
but even then, it never had that big of a fandom on like Tumblr or anything.
Mm, interesting. No, because this is when like the TikTokification happens.
Yeah.
But I will I'm kind of scared to get to this because this was my time of like being a Heather stan.
Yeah.
So we're saying goodbye to that now because I get a life.
Now you can talk critically about it.
Now, because this time I feel like I have been almost holding back a little bit.
I think it was like for you, it was nostalgia. Like you loved it so
Mhm.
much that every time you
Mhm.
went to go and see it, you had to be nice about it.
I had to be nice about it, but every time I've gone back since, I've been a little bit more critical.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really didn't. I would like it to be known. I really like the best time I've seen it was when I saw it in 2021. That cast was
Yeah. I had a really good time when I saw it. The only time I saw it.
because Nell's kind of
So
normal about Heathers. I'm not.
I'll just wait till we start getting into like Phantom.
Oh God.
I also
God.
wasn't normal about Be More Chill.
Oh, our next episode.
Next episode, I
We've never
was
seen it though,
no, because
because
the
when it
Broadway version was shit.
and then it came to the UK around COVID, and we were like, we're too cool for Be More Chill. The tickets were so cheap.
We really should have gone.
We should have gone
Like
anyway,
thinking about it, we really should have
because
gone.
then we would have seen all 4 Pipeline musicals. Anyway, join us next time for Be More Chill. Nell's frozen.
Silent, like I cannot hear anything.
Oh yeah, you just froze for me. Right, let me just repeat what I said.
Okay, I'm back now.
Yeah, because then we would have seen all 4 Pipeline musicals.
Yeah, I don't like honestly. I know we joked, but I don't think I've ever watched Be More Chill in any form.
Nor have I, actually. Like, I know.
The only one I've seen, and we'll get more into it next episode, is the parts of the animatic that were posted. That's all I've seen, so that's all I have to base it off.
I have treats for all of you during that. When
Oh my
I
God, I get a
no,
tweet.
no, I told you because it was just so shocking. I was like, I can't
Oh
do
yeah, I remember this.
myself.
Yeah,
But I was scandalized. I was shocked. Jaw dropped.
it was. I can really talk about because I followed her on Tumblr.
What, Claudia?
Yeah,
Oh, bestie Claudia.
yeah, I
um,
followed. I used to have talked about this. I used to have a semi-big musicals blog, and then I got banned for breaking the guidelines.
yep. So we were on the front lines, but
Yeah,
I mean, Be More Chill is often looked at as the worst of it.
and that makes it the best.
It kind of crashed and burned in this really interesting way. And I'm just endlessly fascinated by the way people interact with it nowadays.
I think the thing with Be More Chill is you still get diehards for it in a way you don't with the other three.
Yeah, yeah. People
Like
still
you have
ride for it,
diehard,
and I hope
you still have
that's
diehard Heather's fans, but you don't have a diehard Heather's fandom.
yeah, and also the diehard Heathers fans are completely different from the diehard Heathers fans that were around in 2017.
Oh yeah. Like Be More Chill has stayed surprisingly consistent.
And I would be willing to bet that they're the same people.
I can look into that if you'd like.
But I love them. I really wish them the best.
Love them.
I see them and I'm like, I'm so happy that you're still finding joy in this.
It's kind of like the best one you could still be a fan of.
Yeah, yeah, but we will get into
Like
it.
I think honestly the only other one is Hamilton, but the problem with Hamilton is every single thing a fandom could do has been done.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
Like you're never gonna get to that level again.
But also, like, Be More Chill's the one that then people look down on the most because it was, I don't know,
It was the most modern.
most modern, yeah. It didn't really have a life. pre-pipeline.
Yeah.
I think that's where its fatal flaw is. Anyway, we hope that you
That's for another time.
enjoyed listening.
Anyways,
this has been Heather's.
this has been Heather's part 1.
7-Eleven's worst PR thing.
7-Eleven's worst PR stunt.
Well,
which, by the way, I said that I literally made that joke having done no research into it. Literally every single review you read was like, "Ah, yes, freeze your brain. We love slushies.
Actually,
Slushies are so good. 7-Eleven slushies."
The joke came from me telling the story of when I went to Abu Dhabi. I was like a 14-year-old. I took no photos on that trip, and I only took photos of myself getting a Slurpee at 7-Eleven.
I've seen a lot of people make jokes about that, though.
Yeah, but I would like to embarrass myself a bit more. Anyway, bye.
Anyways, that's it. Bye.
That's that.